Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, where downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app and using promo code DNVR is going to get you $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on the NFL. That's code DNVR, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. I am Patrick Lyons.
I am Suzie Hunter. Patrick, I was really hoping that you were going to start the show in your Kermit voice like you were doing before we went on.
I don't know what you're talking about. We test the mics in various different ways, and I just want to make sure all the octaves were properly aligned. We're going to be properly aligned today because although we had an off day on Monday, the isotopes were in action. We'll talk about that. We'll look at who's been playing really well in the month of September. We don't want to give out our end of season awards just yet, but let's highlight a couple guys that have been doing well. We'll look at some comments that Bill Schmidt made over the weekend, examine them a little bit more. Do we have hope after what he said? Is it hype, or is it maybe more of the same? I don't know. And
we're going to break it down.
And we'll take a look around the league, as it were. There's some things going on.
There's a lot going on.
The league.
The league
has a lot happening. Wouldn't we say? There's a lot. I do want to start in Albuquerque because the Isotopes played a rare Monday night game. I mean, they only have a couple more games left. They
literally only
Tuesday.
2 games left, yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday and on Wednesday. Of course, we'll also get to the Rockies in San Francisco, highlight that series, let you know who's going to be pitching. But they won 15-4, and we mentioned it because Noah Davis, we talked about it on Sunday. Yay, he got to play.
He finally got to play. He made his AAA debut after going from Hartford to Colorado to Albuquerque. The path of Noah Davis.
He had a connecting flight going through Coors Field, apparently, with a 1 week layover.
A really long layover.
It's very strange how that works out. Yeah, only gave up 1 run and 4 2/3 innings pitched, so that was great. But Brenton Doyle, I mean, has he done enough to maybe suggest the Rockies need to call him up and maybe make his debut on the road? He hit 2 home runs last night in that 15-4 win, and he's been pretty fantastic in the last week since he's been promoted from Hartford.
Yeah, and he's only been up here for 7 games, but a .448 batting average.
That's solid. Already. 500 on base percentage, slugging percentage close to 900, 3 homers in that span, and again, 7 games, 8 RBI. That's pretty good.
I like that. Let's get him up there.
Yeah, he's a guy that they will have to protect in late November to put on the 40-man roster, or else he will be exposed to the Rule 5 draft. Anytime that happens in November, there's guys you say, maybe another team will take a flyer on this guy, like maybe they should have protected him. Jake Bird was a guy, he didn't get protected. There wasn't another team that was, interested and saw him as a big league reliever to start the season. And he ended up contributing, really nicely. Willie McIver was one of those guys last year I thought maybe would have gotten protected. Another team kind of liking a defensive catcher that has a little bit of speed and can hit. Doyle seems to be one of those guys who will be safe. He'll get protected. But there'll be a few other ones that, we'll have to wait and see in the Rule 5 draft because it'll be back this year. There wasn't one last year. So
who's at the highest risk?
I mean, it's really, the first guy that comes off. In fact, that leads me to something that I didn't write down, or maybe I did. And we'll talk about it with Bill Schmidt, like who's going to be around next year. And I sort of was speculating that 3 of the Rockies fan favorites might be gone next year. Connor Joe could be a candidate for, designation for assignment. Sam Hilliard might just need a change of scenery. He's down in AAA. Obviously, how do the Rockies feel about him? And that could be somewhat of an indicator. And then Whit and Bernard, depending on what they do, that's additional depth. So all 3 of those guys on the 40-man roster, you're going to need to make room on the 40-man. There's guys already that are going to be free agents that will help create some room. But in order to protect a guy like Brenton Doyle, put him on the 40-man roster, Warming Bernabel, players of that caliber, we could see Joe, Hilliard, and Bernard all in the same year. That would be wild.
That would be wild, but honestly, would not even be surprised.
I think there's no way that all 3. I don't know why. Maybe partially because they all play the same position.
Yeah.
Right? They're all outfielders.
Yeah.
Like there's a way. Maybe all three of them do get pushed off the 40-man, but someone like Bernard comes back, signs a AAA deal, and so he'll still be in the organization. But it honestly would be a little surprising. Again, just because I think they're all outfielders. They all still have a little bit of upside. They all have value.
Yeah. But, technically every single Rocky is an outfielder.
You're not wrong about that.
Technically.
You are definitely not wrong about that. So let's go ahead and jump into the best players in the month of September. Relatively speaking, again, they had a road trip. They were at home for just a little bit. So we'll kind of highlight some of the guys because, again, we've got 9 games in California, but there's some guys that we need to point out, highlight, and we're going to do that with the Blaze Street Bombers.
We haven't done one in a while.
We have not. Logistically, I think it worked out, something with the All-Star break, and I was in San Diego, sort of to end July to open up in August, so we didn't get a chance to do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at number 5 on September's Blaze Street Bombers, Daniel Bard. There's really hasn't been anybody better than him. He's been consistent every single month in the back of that bullpen. 32 saves, 32 out of 35 opportunities. Did get the win in the extra inning victory there on Friday night. He has been so incredibly solid for them in the 9th inning.
He is. Whenever you see Daniel Bard coming into a game, you're like, okay, this is in good hands. And that's a great sign. He's the most reliable dude, and we need that in the bullpen.
Absolutely, yeah. You can understand why, he was extended for 2 more years. You also understand, a lot of people saying, well, if you're not going to contend, what do you need this kind of reliever for, especially if you can turn around and trade him for some prospects? Yes, that definitely makes sense, but he'll be back there, and you might almost need him back there, especially Kinley's going to be a while till he gets back. We're holding our breath on Lucas Gilbreth. If Estevez leaves in free agency, there might be nobody back there whatsoever. So having a guy in the 9th inning, could be, somewhat important so that you do avoid a 100-loss season. But yes. I don't think we're headed there yet, and certainly not after you hear some of the comments from Bill Schmidt where that goes. But let's look at number 4 in this month's Blaze Street Bombers, Mr. Alan Trejo. I think since Tovar has come up, he's quieted a little bit, but that's only 3 games. Overall, He's been really solid.
He's been so solid. And, I always think back to the start of the season when he was up with the Rockies, and Buddy just could not say enough about how great he was coming off the bench. He went back down to AAA, but when he came back, he was still solid. He contributes, and I love to see that from him.
Yeah, just under 300, at least headed into this weekend. Had some struggles at the plate against the Padres, about 4 doubles, 2 homers. He had 8 RBI in his first 17 games, doing that in the 9th spot in the order too. That's another one of those things. So providing a lot of value there, and of course his walk-off did help punctuate the fireworks. He gave us a little fireworks before the fireworks.
They were fireworks before the fireworks. That walk-off was electric.
Fireworks are always nice. Number 3 on our list of Blaze Street Bombers would be Mr. Jonathan Daza. Since he's come off the IL, that separated shoulder, and you thought, well, that's probably going to be his season. He's been ridiculous. Was hitting .357 in his first 14 games in the month of September. Was reaching base safely just about every game. Seems like he has 2 hits in just about every game, 9 of them at least, to my recollection, and he's really helped solidify the top part of that order. He's not going to give you a walk all that often. I think he did have a couple this weekend, I can recall. He's not going to chase, but he's going to put the bat on the ball. And I think, next year that could be even more valuable with strikeout rates probably coming down. Maybe he has a little bit more power. We see more than just the 2 home runs that he has this year. But he's really stepped up, I think, a little bit to make you say, okay, I still want to see some more of Jonathan Daza. Maybe he's reached his ceiling, maybe. But again, really good defensively in the outfield. He deserves to be highlighted here.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, when he dislocated his shoulder, I think a lot of us were concerned we weren't going to see him at all for the rest of the season. So I feel like anything we get out of him is just a bonus.
It's gravy right on top of that.
It's gravy.
All right, number 2, let's go ahead and throw out Sunday start. But yeah, Mr. Kyle Freeland, still in his previous 4 starts, 2-1, sub-2 ERA, 1.48 to be exact, 20 strikeouts and 6 walks before that Padres game, 3 out of 4 quality starts. And the one that he didn't have a quality start, he just missed it by 1 out. So he finished his season somewhat solid. Again, we'll have to throw out that Padres start. He's the only starter right now in the rotation that will only have one more start to go. Everyone else will have 2 to kind of finish on a high note. He's just going to have the 1, but it will be against the Dodgers. So he's definitely he's got some bullets left in the chamber because he didn't throw a lot of pitches. I think he maybe had 65 on Sunday because he got knocked around a little bit. So he'll definitely be looking to finish on a high note.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I think everyone wants to throw out that Sunday start.
Number
Especially
1.
Kyle. Yes.
Especially Kyle.
Number
Kale,
1.
Any guesses as to who the best player we had in the month? Now that you've already put it up. Hopefully you have a very good guess.
Let me think. Is it CJ Cron?
Christopher John Crone. Actually, is it John? Is his middle name?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is too. Christopher John
right.
Crone, son of Chris Crone. Yeah, and his brother's Kevin Crone. Yeah.
Yes, it is Christopher. He's Christopher John Crone Jr.
Okay, yeah.
In case you're wondering.
Chris,
he's a junior. Chris. So technically he's a CJ.
He's a true CJ.
he's a double CJ.
He's not one of those fake CJs that are out there, which you cannot stand. I did find it very funny when Bill Schmidt's running through all the players, who had a good year offensively, talking about Randall Grichuk, good, maybe not as great as we would have hoped. And Jose Iglesias, he said, we've got Chris out there, CJ Crone. Who calls him Chris?
I was wondering. I'm like, does Bill Schmidt call CJ Crone Chris? I could just see him passing him in the hallway, like, Christopher, how are you doing?
Chrissy, maybe throw Chrissy out there. I mean, if he was more Italian, I don't know if Crones could be Italian, but you throw Chrissy out there for Italian guys, right?
Do you?
Yeah, Chrissy. Well, a good old pal of mine, Christopher Moltisanti. We call Chrissy from once in a while.
Oh, I like that. Okay,
You go deep on The Sopranos?
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay.
Well, because when it was on, it was like I was a little too young to be watching The Sopranos when it was originally on.
It's good.
So I just haven't gotten around to it.
Got to rewatch it. Crone, 5 homers, 15 RBI. He's 1 shy of getting to 30. We did see him back in the lineup, thankfully. So that wrist, that hand that he does wear a little guard on was protected. So that's nice. You hope he gets that last one. He's over the 100 RBI total. I think that's his first time. Did have 30 homers, I believe, with Tampa Bay a couple years ago. So we hope he gets the 30. And that's super huge. Appreciate the super chat.
Yo, we got a super chat. Let's go.
Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it.
When you have a super chat, you get first crack here. We got to jump into it right away.
Okay.
Let's not fight over who reads it. You got the glasses, so you know what? I'm gonna let you win this one.
Okay. Like I've already started. You can all see me squinting. Okay, super chat from Burge.
Berge.
At some point in this broadcast or the next, or your talk with Drew, can you break down what is known about what the Dodgers are doing in their player development system?
That's a great question. That is definitely something we'll have to get into. Tyler Anderson, Yency Almonte, obviously they've had phenomenal years. I mean, you could look at just about anybody. Andrew Heaney was really successful once he signed there. You go, well, Heaney's going to be, really solid. What they were able to get out of Tony Gonsolin, a guy that was probably overlooked a little bit. But one of the things I will say, and we'll talk more about this with Drew Goodman, is that they do something crazy. They have maybe it's biogenetics, but when you come into their organization, they are going to screen you for everything. And they'll be able to tell you if you have a slight imbalance where maybe you put too much weight on your right knee. Maybe that's because you had an injury to your left ankle, and they will work and make sure that you are balanced. They will make sure and say, all right, well, we got to work on this. Let's take a little bit more pressure off that right knee. Let's strengthen up that left ankle, whatever it may be, strengthen the hips. They will go through and make sure that any of those underlying injuries it doesn't come to fruition. I was speaking with someone recently about, having an injury and needing hip surgery at 27 years old. I was like, I was always athletic, didn't have any issues, but there are those underlying things that sometimes will come to fruition if it's sort of not treated, right? And you think, I've been able to get away with it, but there's that wear and tear over time. And if it's not discovered, it could be problematic. The Dodgers will catch those things and work on that for those guys. So they are getting, that much more out of it. They spend a lot of money on analytics to figure out what's been successful for guys. Hey, just throw this pitch. It's fine. Like, don't worry about that. Don't get too crazy with it. So Bears, appreciate that. 7191. We'll also bring it up, of course, on Thursday.
I was going to say, speaking of Yency, last time he was here in Colorado, I chatted with him about, just what he has changed since he was a Rocky, and also about grilled cheese sandwiches. There's a reason why. So that'll be tomorrow on tomorrow's Susie show. I got some audio. So keep an eye out for that.
I think you just gave away the spoiler. The Dodgers player development, they feed their guys grilled cheese sandwiches.
No.
Oh, it's the opposite of that.
It is.
Oh, well, then now I got to listen.
You got to listen now.
We all got to listen.
You think you know, but you have no idea.
Oh, man.
No idea. Patrick, you're embarrassing yourself right now.
Real world. I am. But I'm going to save the day by saying you have no idea how good it is to be a member of the DNVR.com until you make it official. Now, if you had an annual membership, you get a free shirt from DNVRlocker.com. But hey, if you're looking to get a feel for what the buzz is all about, with the members only Discord access to that, discounts on the tailgates that we got for the Broncos, it's always popping off for that. Upcoming Nuggets watch parties, things of that nature. You get discounts on that. $15% off. So it actually could be more than that, depending on how big your party is and how crazy you're getting popping those bottles of champagne. But 15% off your tab here on the corner of Colfax and York at the DNVR bar. And you could do that with a little sampling with 50 cents for your first month if you want to get in on that. And if you want to make sure that you're getting the best seats, even up until the last minute, you got to go to Game Time. Game Time tickets in the Game Time app. It's never been easier to get seats on the 50-yard line, behind home plate. You name it. Those Giants series, we talked about it, even in San Francisco. If you want to go out there, and look, coffee shop can be expensive. They're going to kick you out after an hour or two. I did the math. If you go in when the game starts at Oracle Park, and you hang around for 15, 20 minutes, walk around a little bit after the final out, 6 hours in San Francisco for $3. That's
Patrick,
so cheap.
I'm concerned about your loitering, but continue.
Look, Game Time will allow you to loiter. You could have seen the entire Giant series for under $10. In fact, if you wanted to bump it up and get extra tickets, you could have got extra dollar hot dog seats.
Did you see what Kale just had up on the screen? They've already got tickets up there for next season.
No, I did not. We've got opening day going.
They're a little pricey right now. You got to wait until closer to first pitch. But yeah, we've got...
Still, that's not too bad.
That's not too bad.
That's not. But yeah, you wait to the last minute, and then the sellers say, look, I'd rather get something than nothing. And you could get like 60% off. That's what happened to me on my first show. That I ended up going to Red Rock. So I did not regret it. You won't either. So join over the 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. And hit the link in our description to save. Look, that's how you can help support us and support them and support yourself financially. You can also help yourself by getting the Nuggets and the Avs all in one space, all in one place. Same thing as the NFL Network, just like AT&T Sportsnet, where you can watch the Rockies. You get so many great channels in crystal clear HD with Evoca TV, the new GOAT in Colorado sports, greatest of all television. You want to be the remote GOAT, you got to do it at evoca.tv/Colorado10, evoca.tv/Colorado10. No contracts, no catches. Evoca is TV made for champions of the remote.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to mention with Albuquerque was...
The Hill?
It's official. Isotopes Hill, which I've never actually heard anyone call it Isotopes Hill. There's the hill at the lab, at Isotopes Park.
Yeah.
But the Tope Slope.
The Tope
I feel
Slope.
like that is the proper name. We've also learned over the years that some folks have called it Glen Allen Hill after the former manager. I very unsuccessfully petitioned that it should be called, after their most recent and current manager, Warren Schaefer, it should be called Warren Peak. But regardless, it's going away.
It's going away. Yeah, fans will have the opportunity after Wednesday's game to go out and take pictures on it.
I legit had a thought of I want to go.
Are you thinking about how you can make it down there?
I mean, I know how. It's just
no,
do I actually do it? No, I'm not going to be doing it, but I want to. Like, it pulled me in just knowing that you have that opportunity. And the video package they put together I thought was really cool.
It was weirdly moving
Center
for
fielders.
a plot of grass.
Honestly, I very much was moved. I was like, oh my God, like this is kind of a big deal. And they showed some highlights, of Sam Hilliard, Wynton Bernard, of course. Raimel Tapia has made some great plays out in center field, which was fantastic.
And it's so funny, too, because when Wynton came on the show earlier this season, he told us about this. And we're like, okay, well, but is this really going to happen? And it's really happening.
Because there were rumors that was going
rumors.
away for every year. It was going away. But when he said it, I feel like it gave it more validity. And it's like I had the thought, and GM John Traub did say that in the video that, hey, minor league baseball wants the facilities to be safe. To be uniform in a lot of ways. The outfield doesn't have to truly be uniform.
But you can't have a hill that guys have to run up. Like, it's kind of I'm kind of surprised that it has been there for that long.
Yeah.
So
true.
I think it'll just be better for everyone if we say our farewells.
And the Dodgers affiliate, Dodgers, had them as an affiliate, and so you'd have thought they might have stepped in and said, hey, enough of the nonsense. We don't want anyone getting hurt. And to our knowledge, no one has gotten hurt. But man, fun plays.
Yeah. No, it's definitely been fun to watch over the years. So RIP to the taupe slope.
That really did bum me out.
Yeah.
It bummed me out in a major way.
Oh, Irod hopped in. RIP Isotopes Hill.
Appreciate it, Irod.
He's an Albuquerque guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a bummer to see. But what was not a bummer was getting a chance to talk with GM Bill Schmidt. He discussed a little bit about, hey, what's the plan? Will there be some significant offseason moves? What's going on with the payroll? He said they'll kind of discuss that in the offseason. Gave a lot of, I'm not going to say non-answers, but, the talking around certain things to not tip the hand. And sometimes, I feel like you may need to do that, where you say, hey, look, maybe we don't value this guy, or we need to improve this area, and now that's going to hurt you in negotiations going forward. But I think right now, at this point, Rockies fans want to know that there, really is a good plan going forward, and that they are really evaluating their processes, which, he said they are. Didn't explain exactly how, but it can't be the same old in general. Who's going to be here? Who's not? What do they need? It did sound like, as far as things that they need, a leadoff hitter, could be towards the top of that list, which is kind of an odd thing because that's not a position. That's just a spot in the order.
It's just a concept.
It's just a concept.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if you go back to Ryan McMahon again. He sees more pitches. On base percentage, leaves a little bit something to be desired. Daza, doesn't necessarily take enough pitches, doesn't draw enough walks. So in general, on base percentage isn't terribly high, but maybe you could squint and kind of, do that. But if you pigeonhole yourself too much and say, oh, we just need a, leadoff hitter, you might end up paying more than you need to in free agency. So I understand why they're a little bit guarded, but I very much see it as a need.
That's a great way to just describe everything Bill Schmidt had to say. Everything was very guarded.
It was very guarded.
Yeah.
Let's actually take a look at some of those comments. He did start off, by saying, just want to thank the fans for their support this year. Their backing is not lost on all of our staff or our players. We don't take it for granted. We truly appreciate everything you do for us. So that was a good little precursor and preamble to start things off. A good note, and Buddy said the exact same thing. So that was important, to kind of to set the tone there, because again, what he says, we hear it and we push it out to everyone else.
Yeah,
because there were actually some people I think I saw on Twitter, maybe it was our members only Discord, of like, hey, where can I hear this little press conference thing? And it was It was more of a media availability kind of thing. It wasn't anything that was pushed out. So
yeah,
our quotes are the only place they can hear just about anything.
Yeah.
Chris Bryant. So this was his quote on Chris Bryant. He didn't really focus a lot on, hey, the reason why we may or may not win more than 68.5 games is because Chris Bryant. He didn't put all that on him, but he did say, quote, Chris has always told me I'm going to play. A little freakish injury, right? The back or plantar fasciitis. You can't plan on these things, Schmidt said about Chris Bryant, which could be a little bit worrisome because I think after the season, the questions will really start to rise up. They did with Ian Desmond at first. He at least posted. He had some good numbers. He was here every single day. But Bryant making nearly 3 times as much, certainly 2.5 times as much as Desmond did in his deal. He does have, some injuries in his past. Doesn't have a ton of, 150 games or even 140 games played type of seasons. Mm-hmm. So those questions are going to start to come up that, freak injuries happen, but that's an indicator that this player could be injury prone. Mm-hmm. And that's a concern. Still got a lot more years left with Chris Bryant around.
Yes. And wow. I mean, I just can't say enough how I'm surprised how this season went. So
0 homers at Coors Field. Next quote from Mr. Bill Schmidt, Rockies GM. He said, quote, I still believe we have pieces here to be good. We still need some more. We're not where we need to be. So again, I'm not going to say doubling down, but going back to this idea that the team that, started off well in 2020, but that was over the course of 14 games where they were 11-3, fell off the map. They traded Nolan Arenado right away. Trevor Story left in free agency. John Gray left in free agency. You saw what they did with 74 wins in 2021. Largely brought back the same team. Sure, you swap out, a Story for a Chris Bryant, and you make up for John Gray with Chad Kuhl and a couple of other players here and there. And so again, generally the same team. They're not going to get back to 74 wins. And you're saying, hey, I still believe we've got the pieces here that we need. There are useful pieces here, but there are much bigger pieces still missing.
Yes.
And we didn't hear that, really get acknowledged.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you've brought up. We definitely we backslid this year.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. You didn't see a lot of guys take a step forward. I mean, Brendan Rodgers would really be the only guy that you would say, took a step forward. And even still, in April, was really bad. Mm-hmm. Got out of his way there. September, we didn't get much from him. So it's really only 4 months of that. Whereas everyone else kind of treaded water or water. And or just totally backslid.
It was the summer of B-Rod. It wasn't the spring and it wasn't the fall. It's just the summer of B-Rod.
Yeah. Backsliding, the story of the 2022 Colorado Rockies.
Yeah. Because we're not so sure we're going to even get that 69th win.
And I want to talk about that too, because
you do want to talk about it.
That's concerning.
I'm a little concerned for sure.
When pressed about like specific moves about what are the areas of need, because that's the thing with the Rockies is I think they've got good or average and some slightly above average players in certain areas, but they have it in just about all areas. They lack depth, we know. But they've got that in all areas. So you need big upgrades, to get to that extra level. And it's like if you have a roster of, maybe league average type players, you're going to have a league average type season where maybe at best you can be over 500. So you need some guys to do a lot more heavy lifting, and that requires making some big moves. And that remains to be seen if they're going to be doing that.
I want to talk about a comment that we have going on. So Rocky said next spring will. I'm assuming he's responding to that came up right after I was talking about how it was the summer of B-Rod. Mm-hmm. But next year will be the first full spring training since 2019. Which, do we not factor that in enough that there hasn't really been a full spring training in a couple of years?
Yeah, no, I think it's important to mention, undoubtedly. And I find that to be interesting how, some folks might break down the Rockies currently, previously, and kind of evaluating them and say, hey, let's give them some slack because of X, Y, and Z. And you say, hey, give them some slack, right? You had pitchers only had 3 weeks to get started to go into their season. Is that why, virtually everybody has a 5 or higher ERA in the starting rotation? Sure. But look around the league. There are 29 other teams that had to deal with the exact same thing. 29 other teams, played 60 games in 2020, and so that messed with guys' trajectory. Or, hey, they didn't have a minor league season in 2020. What does that do for player development in the minor leagues? Last year, obviously, last year was a normal spring training. I'm trying to think if there was anything off the top of my head in 2021.
Oh, you know what? 2021 was a year.
It just wasn't normal for fans being able to go and watch and participate. But it is just normal for the baseball world where fans can go. We're all going to be on the same page, we hope, for 2023. But that is a true point. So again, you can look and say, hey, maybe in a vacuum, the Rockies have this disadvantage or whatever. All 30 teams have these disadvantages. And so who's able to manage them best? Who's able to get over that hurdle? You look and then say, oh, the Rockies haven't. The Rockies haven't. So you can't use those excuses. You can't look at everything and say, our minor league system, where's it at? In the low 20s at the start of the season. Well, hey, they didn't have a minor league season in 2020. Well, no one did.
Yeah.
Right. And, so there are all of those things in general to point out. But I think it is important to note, at least for certain individual players, it impacts them maybe more than others. Final quote from Bill Schmidt when asked to really try to pin down what are those areas to improve. And it was just, improve our offense. And we're going to need to improve our pitching depth. So, again, not that these are just general kind of things. Unfortunately, you understand why. But how are you going to improve the offense? Having a better leadoff hitter, I think, is going to be important. As far as pitching depth is concerned, you hope to maybe get back at Peter Lambert and Ryan Rollison as pitching depth guys. But right now, they're just really AAA type pitching depth.
Yeah.
The problem with having a starting rotation full of, and we all know Kyle Freeland, Cy Young Award conversation there, 4th place in 2018. We know what he can do. Germán Marquez is still incredibly young, and you go, this is a guy on any day can go out and throw a no-hitter and could potentially put it together and have a Cy Young quality season and be in the voting and play for that. We know what their ceiling is, but right now both those guys might be more like number 3 type starters. I expect them, maybe Marquez, to be more of a number 2 type starter next year. But you could say, looking at the numbers, they have an entire rotation of number 4 starters. So having more pitching depth means, all right, so we're going to get some number 5, number 6 type starters. That doesn't help you out if you don't have a true number 1 or number 2 or even a number 3 kind of starter. So that even doesn't solve it in and of itself as well.
Patrick, that's a great point.
It's a depressing point.
I'm
sorry here, but there's still plenty to be excited
I wonder if
about.
my therapist watches this show.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, first and foremost, your life and your happiness shouldn't revolve around sports in that way, and certainly not the Rockies, if that's anything to be indicated. But your health probably should, and that's why you got to start your day off the right way with Athletic Greens. It's what we do. It's what's been successful for us. 1 scoop and you get 75 high-quality whole food source superfood probiotics, minerals, adaptogens, you name it. It'll get you going before that first cup of coffee, because you really shouldn't have it within your first 90 minutes of being awake.
Yes, and you say this all the time.
I do.
Unprompted, just around the office.
And it works. Athletic Greens is that bridge to get you there, to get you what you need. And right now, they're going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So if you're on the road, or if you want to take your Athletic Greens on the road, I don't know if there's too many people who wake up, roll out of bed, throw on their clothes, and then drive to work. We know some folks, that's how they got to do it, right? But you got your travel packs to take with you for Athletic Greens. Get all of that and more at athleticgreens.com/ROC. Those are the first 3 letters of Rockies. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/ROC. And take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. If you need dental insurance, Green Mountain Dental Group is the way to go. They're going to take great care of your chompers. If you mention DNVR Sports, you're going to get a $300 discount for a full orthodontics treatment for new patients. You can also get a free set of bleach trays at $350 value with a new patient cleaning, exam, and x-ray. They're 15 minutes from downtown Denver. It's Green Mountain Dental Group. They rock.
That is first, that's first on my list this offseason. I'm like, I need a dentist appointment.
Is the chompers.
I need the chompers. I want some white trays.
White tray. Yes. Some will make your teeth sensitive, but not the ones that Green Mountain Dental use. They make sure that they've sussed out all the people that are sus.
Yeah.
And all the trays that are sus. They take great care of it. Dude, Rockies, man, they've got to go 4-5 on this trip to hit the over.
It's not happening. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. It's highly unlikely.
Practically 500. So so tonight is almost a must win, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't win tonight, you're going to take the next 2 from the Giants, possible. But again, you're putting yourself into a hole. Giants already have the Rockies number. They just swept them in Colorado.
Yeah. A 4-game sweep too.
Yes.
Not just any sweep.
And Marquez is on the hill, so you got to think he's going to be one that does that. In fact, he was in San Francisco when he had one of his first near no-hitters in 2019, if you recall. So tonight almost becomes a must-win. Then you win one more game in San Francisco, and then you got to go 2-4 against LA. Because if not, now you got to go 3-3. You got to split with the Dodgers.
That's not happening.
In LA, if you only win one of the next 3.
I mean, unless the Dodgers decide, you know what, we've won 105 games already. Let's just give these next 6 to the Rockies. Maybe they'll be generous.
But how are you going to give away a game? Like, the team has to take it, you know?
Yeah, it's not happening. Kale, what do you think? Are the Rockies making it to 69 wins?
The math makes it hard to get there at this point.
What does your soul say?
My soul says no, which is such a shame.
Yeah. And who would have thought it would have been, they would have been let down by a week at home.
Yeah.
Right? They went 1-6 against the Giants and Padres. 2 good teams. Padres obviously better than the Giants, but you could have gone 4-3. That's what I would have hoped. Even if they had gone 3-4, they still would have been okay.
Yeah.
They still would have been okay.
And I mean, I'm surprised things didn't go better against the Padres too, because the Padres can't win at Coors Field.
Couldn't. Now they can, maybe.
Apparently now they can, so good for them.
Maybe they can. So Herman Marquez on the hill. He's 8-12 with a 5.15 ERA. A lot of 5 ERAs we're going to talk about. But for the Giants, it's Logan Webb, 14-9, 2.93 ERA on Wednesday. Now, all these games are at 7:45, by the way, on AT&T Sportsnet.
Late night baseball.
Or Evoca TV. Mm-hmm. You can watch it there. Jose Urena, 3-7, 5.34 ERA. Could be a bullpen game. It's to be determined. Mm-hmm. Could be the return of a certain 6'11" pitcher.
Is he back yet?
Jelly?
Yeah.
He might be.
That's my new favorite baseball player because his name is hysterical and he's 7 feet tall. Yeah, well, he's only 6'11".
Well, he's listed as that, but there are some people who think he may actually be 7. It's weird, to cut off an inch, but that's true. I looked it up, and there's only been 8, 9 players who've been 6'11" or even 6'10" and taller to ever play at Coors Field. Randy Johnson, one of them. Mm-hmm. Eric Hillman, I think, was a name that I saw. John Roush. Not very many. Not many guys who've actually done it. So that was a little treat last week. And then Ryan Feltner on Thursday, also still a night game, 3-8, 5.91 ERA, and maybe finally get to see Carlos Rodon. He's 13-8 with a sub-3 ERA. So oof. Rockies got 3 guys with a, I'm drawing a blank here. If you have an under 3 ERA, we say sub 3. Mm-hmm. If you have an ERA over 5, we say a plus 5.
Yeah,
5 plus.
Yeah.
But the opposite of sub isn't plus. See, I'm going to
You're
English.
You're overthinking it.
Look. This is how I do what I do.
I know your brain is unlike anyone else's.
First off, did you realize the Cleveland Guardians did something for the first time in their history? They're going to the postseason.
Yes, the Cleveland Guardians.
For the first time ever. The Cleveland Guardians are going to the postseason.
The first time we can say it.
Because
it's the first year with this name.
Yeah, it's their first year.
But you know what? More impressively, they're the youngest team in baseball.
Yes.
So that's actually the impressive part of their soon-to-be postseason run.
What's weird is, I think it still has to be, figured out. There's nobody figuring it out, by the at-bat, because it's weighted by at-bats from the young players, so it does seem as if we'll double check. I hope that doesn't change and they become the second youngest, but ultimately if you just look at the players in their roster, youngest on the team, it's only the 8th time in baseball history that the youngest team in all of baseball has made the postseason. It's going to happen a lot more now because there's 10 spots in the postseason. Last time it happened, 1986 Mets, they won the World Series.
Oh, wow. Did not realize that was such a young team.
It was.
Just before my time.
Did you see what went down in Kansas City with the clash in KC?
Oh, no. Yes, I did.
That was wild. I don't remember seeing that at Coors Field. Maybe that happened when they had more fun in like 17, 18.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's been times in which I've like looked to be like, oh, maybe today's the day that they do it, and then it doesn't happen or someone walks away. But I've never noticed it, at least at Coors Field, where, Kale, I don't know if you know this is a thing. You might dig this. You know, you get on the, you stand in front of your dugout, both teams. You do the national anthem. Clap, you wait for the flag to go off, put your cap on, walk back in the dugout. Except once in a while, both teams will just kind of decide in the exact same day, or maybe word will go on underneath the ballpark, hey, let's see who can stand out here the longest. And two guys will stand out there holding their hat, holding it over their heart, waiting to see who breaks first. Who will stand out there the longest? Have you heard of this? Do you know that that's a thing?
I had not heard of this. That's kind of funny.
Yes.
It's very funny.
In Kansas City, former teammates Luke Weaver and Robbie Ray did it. And the Mariners went out on the field. And no, Kansas City went out. They were on the field. Pitcher was throwing his pitches. And the ump's like, get off the field. Because they wouldn't leave because they both wanted to win. The ump ejected both Luke Weaver and Robbie Ray because it's like, enough of these shenanigans. Now you're both going to leave. Luke Weaver turned back to his dugout first to be like, I just got ejected. So the Mariners decided, well, we won because he turned back first.
Oh.
So Robbie Ray got ejected. Still said, wow, I can't do any more damage than that. He stuck out. So the Mariners have decided that they are victorious in this.
And I agree that they won.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
That's fun.
It's hilarious that they got ejected too.
I do like that. There's some other business around the game of baseball too, huh? We should probably get to.
There is. Did you want to talk about some gossip maybe?
Oh, gossip. Oh, I didn't know if it was specifically anything like that. Yes, please. Very excited.
Let's
now.
get to some gossip.
Thought we were just taking a cruise. Oh, that's a new graphic. We need a convertible.
Suze cruise?
A Suze cruise around the league. But no, this is more official. This is the goss.
I was built to be a brand. All right, so first piece of gossip that I heard. Did you hear, Patrick, that Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina already have a golf trip planned this December following their retirement?
Would that have been one of the... I'm going to say yes, that's true, because I'm guessing maybe a team gave them that, but I can't think of who. Maybe Atlanta? Say, hey, you can come down to Augusta and golf there? Did I get it?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean,
Your
kind
reaction
of.
is like, it's not right, but it could be.
You know
It
what?
could be.
I feel like when they went through Atlanta, like, I feel like Albert and Yachty did not get the gifts that they weren't getting a lot of gifts. And I feel like it didn't really pick up until they got to Coors Field.
And the Rockies said, hold on, come on, let's acknowledge these
Yes.
guys. Yeah.
So I don't know if they have a golf trip planned, but they do have the gear for it. The Dodgers gave them these golf bags.
That's cool.
And actually, they were gifted to them right before Albert hit number 700.
Yep.
That game.
Hit 2 in a game, so he becomes the only player 42 or older to have 4 multi-homer games in his age 42 or greater season. So, yeah, he's got 700. And thankfully, we didn't have to deal with his 700th home run coming on the same day as, 60, 61, or 62, something like that.
He could just have his day.
Yeah.
I like that he had his day. I want to talk about another gift that they got. Maybe they've got a surf trip planned. San Diego gave them these surfboards. I don't know anything about surfboards, but I'm kind of wondering why Albert's is so much bigger than Yachty's. Like, it's just like the size difference in surfboards is ridiculous.
It probably should have been the same size, but I'm digging the longboard. No confirmation if Adam Wainwright, who we believe it's also his last year, if he got maybe a beautiful stylized and graffitied bodyboard. Maybe if he wants to do any body surfing.
Maybe he got a little boogie board.
Boogie board. That's the
boogie board.
Body surfing is just using your body.
Yes.
But yeah, boogie board. We'll have to see if he got a boogie board, or maybe just a boogie board keychain. That's it. That's it. But I thought that was perfect for San Diego.
Very on brand.
That's great.
Very on brand. The vibes are immaculate. All right, Patrick, I've got another piece of gossip.
Dish. Let's dish.
Did you dish? Very well said. Did you hear that Christian Yelich once ate Chipotle for 142 days in a row while in the minors?
I did hear that. Yes, that's the state of the minor leagues, at least how it used to be.
It's just straight up true. Now, here's my question. So I commented online about this, and I was like, oh, wow, like, we really do need to be paying minor leaguers better. And a lot of people came at me saying, like, Susie, like, Chipotle is expensive.
Yes.
But I'm like, well, first of all, when Yelich was a minor leaguer, it was much, much cheaper. And also, you can get multiple meals out of it. And it's like the cheapest healthy option.
At least we think it is.
I consider... I feel like if you're eating Chipotle for 142 days in a row, those are struggle meals.
Maybe. So my cousin, Jordan, what's up? Shout out. I turned him on to Taco Bell when he was like in middle school, right? And he's like, Taco Bell's the greatest of all time. Then as I got older, I went to Chipotle, and he's like, all right, Chipotle is the greatest of all time, but it's so expensive. And that was, it's like 10 years ago. So again, if you're struggling financially, that's a lot. Like, I mean, that's $8 back in the day. It was maybe $8 maybe to get your burrito, and every single day, that definitely adds up.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Can add up. Another friend of mine who was an Olympic rower. I'm just going to be dropping names, just first names. What's up, Sean?
Okay.
But he was an Olympic rower. He represented the United States in South Korea. I don't know, maybe about six to 8 years ago. But in order to go to the tryout, he sold some of his items, slept in his car, and he got a gift card. I think he maybe had like $1,000, and he would just hang out there, have his phone charge up, and that's where he'd eat his dinner.
Chipotle
chill.
gift card?
It was not Chipotle.
Oh.
Where else do you think you can get like a good meal, somewhat healthy? I feel like it might be in the Chipotle family, not literally like Yum Brands family, but just people think of it to have more healthier options. Fast cash. I don't particularly go to this place, but we got him here in Denver.
What place?
It would be Panera.
Panera.
He was
okay.
a Panera guy.
All right.
That was his spot that he would go
Paneras
every
are
night,
solid.
watch a movie, and then go next day and go to the little combine to do that. So, yeah, Yelich.
Right. What a story.
Yeah. I think he probably had a good signing bonus. So, but that's a shame. You have to use your signing bonus on Chipotle.
Yeah.
The real question is, was he getting guacamole?
Ooh.
Kale's head looked up like, whoa, that is the question.
What, did he splurge on the guac?
That is the question.
Did he charm them into getting free guac?
Did his, yeah, exactly.
Were the Chipotle guys like, oh, look at this nice young man.
Perhaps his parents had to take out a second mortgage on their home in order to fund the guacamole purchase on top of that. He's like, all right, look, son, I know you're hard for some cash. If you cover the burrito and or bowl, well, not but just or bowl, we'll cover your guacamole. You got any more gossip?
I got one more. So in 2023, Major League Baseball will start implementing a national anthem clock to keep the pace of games.
I love this. At a Sabre convention a couple years ago, there was research done, and it was like, hey, here are a couple of the things that will shave off some time. And one of them was God Bless America, before the seventh inning stretch. And it's like, I get it. We like it. It's also not our national anthem. It's just a good song. That's like 2.5 minutes that you can lop off. So stands to reason that maybe they would actually do something like that. I would be fine with it.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a rumor,
Yeah, you don't want that to go out, actually.
Maybe it's something we should talk about after the Luke Weaver, Robbie Ray incident. Because that game, they were out there 4 minutes after that game was supposed to start.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Well, also, if you just have like a backing track where, the people want to, sing. And hey, look, if you're doing a good job on the national anthem,
you think a
great.
backing track so the person stays on pace.
That could work.
Interesting.
That could actually work.
Interesting.
Yes. Maybe for the kids, at least. When the kids go out
Some of
there.
the kids that come and sing the national anthem at Coors Field.
They're
all over they need training.
Folks.
But they're out there having fun.
It's called group packages. That is why the Rockies will forever have children singing the national anthem. When school is in session, you can sell more tickets that way. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
That's all the gossip I got, Patrick.
That's plenty. That's plenty of gossip. It was Aaron Judge. We'll see what happens with him because he got shortchanged in at bat because that game, Sunday Night Baseball, it got called because of the rain. He was on deck, so he would have had at least one more at bat.
I know.
Maybe
That's
two.
so frustrating.
That was pretty wild.
That's East Coast weather for you. Just a damn mess.
Yeah. I'm hearing $300 million plus. He bet on himself. He should be $300 million.
He bet on himself. That's actually, I love the way this season has played out for him because he bet on himself.
Yeah. He goes back a little ways with Aaron Munoz, and I asked him about that, and we had both kind of said like that's probably the best season someone has ever had going into free agency, like setting a record like that.
Yeah.
So he very much is going to get paid, much like Luis Castillo got paid. And much like everybody out there is going to get paid if they're using code DNVR just about anywhere, everywhere, going in our description, watching us on YouTube on the DNVR Sports channel doing that. But we got 3 games against the Gents. You got a Suzie show there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Drew Goodman on Thursday. Friday we'll have a show together there. And
but I'll be in LA.
You will be.
I will be doing the show from LA. I got to figure out where I'm doing the show in LA, but I'll be in LA. We got a good lineup this week, show-wise.
We do. Well, we always do.
We always do.
Look, we are the leadoff hitters of our own, week of podcasts and shows. We're pretty good. We're like Charlie Blackmon and Ricky Henderson, all-time leadoff hitter great.
Well said, Patrick.
You guys can decide who's who there on that front. But you don't have to decide to get all the best Rockies content. We've got it all in one spot on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. At Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at on Twitter.
And you can find me at the Suzie Hunter on all platforms.
This has been fantastic as always. But you know what they say about momentum?
What do they say?
It's only as good as your next show. So, Suzie, we'll see you tomorrow.